What is art? The expression of application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as a painting or a sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. So I recently suggested my brother Fight Club and he said it was trash, and his reasoning behind that opinion was even more stupid. It's illogical and is bad for the youth. And of course, I started praising the movie like your average video assist. But as I was writing this movie, a chain of thought ran through my mind. And this chain of thought presented a dire possibility. Was he right? Was my brother right? What is art? Remember the definition of art? That was from Google. But you see, there is a problem with this definition. Yeah, I guess art is mostly created for its visual beauty, but I believe that its most fundamental reason for existing is to critique the world. Take rap, for example. The most famous kind of rap is the one that people relate, the sort which shows the people a different world, a world where all fantasy comes true. Great that the fantasy is smoking crack and getting women, but ignore that for a bit. It sort of speaks to people's hearts in a way that no one has ever spoken before. Note that I have not considered the TikTok musicians who are just famous for the hype. As for this video, we'll not be considering them artists. To create art is to express feelings or opinions on what we don't like in a visual or audible form. And that don't like is always more powerful than the do like. Art isn't about just expressing feelings or showing the beauty of the world. Surely there is a place for that kind of art in this world. But art fundamentally is to critique, to show the cracks in a seemingly perfect society. Take any Renaissance painting, for example, that basically distracts societal norms or humanity as a whole. Even if you don't agree with the artist's opinions, you will get attracted to the art because it stirs something inside of you. It demands attention, it provokes thought. Therefore, art automatically affects everyone who exists in the world, even you and me. Even if you don't listen to rap, it affects you directly or indirectly. This is one of the reasons, if not the only reason, why art in today's time is so prevalent. It's not just a piece in reality, but a separate reality itself. You see, artists will try to create a reflection of our world and bash that imaginary world with harsh conditions in order to convey what they want. Over exaggerate things sometimes. Take Vinland, for example, or Attack on Titan, or Breaking Bad. You'll see that this is everywhere. Originally, art was shaped by our view on the world. The movies which we saw were made to debate society, but somewhere along the way, our world started to be shaped by the art. We have been exposed to these stories our whole life, point where our life seems like a story. Basically, our whole perception of society and environment comes from movies. But this is where the problem begins. It's as if art has failed to do its only job in society. Instead of art reflecting our world, our worlds have started reflecting art. And trust me, it's not a good thing. Winter arc, NPC, POV, he's just like me for real, or literally me. Villain arc, aesthetic. I can go on with these. These are the terms you might have heard on the internet, and I can assure you that all of these terms, all of them, have some or all connection to art. What do I mean by that? All of these try to create an imaginary reflection of our world. Slowly in our society, everything has started to turn into this hyper reality. You might argue that I'm over exaggerating this problem, but know that in the future, we might just have to buy things with our own music taste points. And when art, the collection of all exaggerated metaphors and conditions, becomes too real, things start to take a bad turn. In October, Shyamjit M. from Kanpur was arrested for murdering Vishnupriya, who had rejected his advances. He had premeditated the crime, forged a knife, and confessed to planning another murder. Police revealed that he was inspired by the Malayalam film Anjam Pathira. In 2018, a man killed his younger brother following a brawl and buried his body in the backyard of his house in Kollam with the help of his mother and wife, an act strikingly familiar to the movie Drishyam. The influence of Joker character has extended beyond the screens in troubling ways. Notably, incidents like 2009 self-mutilation by a high school student emulating the Joker's scars and the Dendermonde nursery attack in Belgium. And we don't even have to talk about how much crime the rappers and the social media influences. These are some of the headlines I just found by searching crimes inspired by movies, and trust me, these are nothing compared to the others. Harsh transition, I know, right? This not only applies to the grave crimes committed by criminals, but also to you and me. Next time you're excited to watch a movie or listen to another album, notice if you're excited more to watch the movie or to post its praises on your IG story. I'm not saying art directly causes these events, but no one can argue that the lines between inspiration and imitation doesn't get dangerously thin. That's not the artist's fault. The people should know the difference between art and reality. I already know that all of you are screaming in the comments. What I have to say, if the artist never made the art, the act would not have happened or would have been seriously suppressed. This is just a real world point of view. But then you say that art doesn't want you to do shit that it presents, wants to educate you. Movies don't inherently advise people to replicate the acts done in it. American Psycho never tells you to do the bullshit that he does in the story. Quite frankly, it does the very opposite of that. Patrick Bateman shows that a completely materialistic lifestyle leads to a hollow life. No real connection to nothing. But we don't understand that. We are Sigmas. Just the fact that Patrick Bateman was unironically being hailed in 2023 backs up my point. I ask you, do we live in a world where everyone will understand the message and act accordingly? And the answer is no. You might say that the audience should have enough brain cells to know that what art they are consuming is not real or just an over-exaggerated example of critique. But then I ask, if 99.9% of people understand and just that 0.1% doesn't understand and act upon it, does that 1% or one life ended justify the making of that art? Then you say, if you don't want to listen to rap, just don't consume it. It's not for you. Remember how I said that art affects everyone? Even the ones who don't consume it? What if some random rap enjoyer assaults me on the street? Then you say that then that kind of art doesn't exist. No piece of work can be created which is fully immune to misinterpretation. Fine. And I say to that, then don't make art. If any of you brothers have been hit with porn addiction, you know that porn addiction is never the problem. Hey, what are you talking about? You're supposed to talk about art. Shut up. Let me cook. If you didn't know, newsflash. Porn addiction is almost always a result of a deeper problem. Whether it be a lack of meaningful connection or a lack of meaning in life. And if you think about your brain makes porn an addiction because it thinks that it is good for you. And it is for a short term, just for that 1 second. And afterwards, it's a downward spiral. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Art is to the world what porn addiction is to a man. It hints at a more fundamental, graver problem. It is never enough. Art is never enough to bring about change. Enough with all the subliminal disses. Art alone can never fix society. Porn alone can never fix loneliness.
François Truffaut
said that there is no such thing as an anti-war film, and there is so much truth to that statement. Do you really think that a movie can stop war? Like, Damn is my favorite Kendrick Lamar album because it shows that before you save the world, you have to save yourself. But this whole image of quote-unquote art has kind of ruined it. How? They gave him a Pulitzer Prize. See, my whole rage isn't against the Pulitzer Prize. It's against the idea of turning it once again into just a material and capital based achievement. Art is commodified. Instead of thinking, wow, such an eye-opener, gotta work on myself, we are forced to think, wow, such an eye-opener, has to be one of the best albums ever created. That's stupid. That's backwards. Oh, you seem to know everything. Then what do you suggest? That's the problem. I don't know. See, what I wanted to suggest was a world which doesn't require art. A world which has nothing to complain about. I would hate to live in a world without art. Shut up! Say that to an African slave. You wouldn't feel its absence. A utopia. But then I backed up on this point because how do we bring up utopia? And yet again, I'm about to become a hypocrite. A utopia can only exist if the current society is changed. And how will it change? The first part of solving any problem is to recognize the issue. The society can only be changed if it is critiqued. And how do we do that? By making art. What did I do? I made a YouTube video critiquing art. That's art, and that is the paradox of art. And the only statement I can confidently say is that art can never justify an ending of a life. And as for the Fight Club problem, my brother did accept that Fight Club is objectively a good movie. But when you think about it, if one person misinterprets it and performs a terrorist attack, then does that justify an art? In conclusion, Kendrick Lamar is not your savior.